Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, Avi's barber, located at Tui and Melvina, and I want to welcome you to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I actually would have seen Marty Levinson today if Ventra had actually sent me a card.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, and welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
For the identity of the real Marty Levinson, please stay tuned for the Northtown News Magazine.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that lemon light city, sweet Hope, Chicago. 224 446. Come on, baby.
Hi there, I'm the real Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hirsch, and your host, Avi Myers.
Thank you, Marty. Avi Myers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the web at www.ntnm.org. Over 250,000 shows watched. NTNM will provide a link with you to YouTube. And if you sign up for Sunny HTV, you can actually get the regular notices as soon as the shows are posted. It's the best way to stay in touch that way. You can friend me on Facebook, Avi Myers, and get all the show stuff. Also, community policing, we're all big on that. Caps24.org is a website that Sonny Hirsch runs in his spare time. He is the chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District. And caps24.org lists all the meetings for the 24th District, which is Rogers Park, West Rogers Park, and the northern part of Edgewater. The 2410 sector, which is West Rogers Park, meets on the second Thursdays at 7 o'clock. If you go to caps24.org, you will see the time for the meetings. So check the schedule for your January meetings, and we'll have to talk about pizza for the meeting later, Sonny. In any event, it is a pleasure to introduce you to the single most frequent guest ever on the show. The former alderman of the 50th Ward, the former chairman of the Buildings Committee, the former vice mayor
you're not
of the
going to
city
go
of
through all this
Chicago.
thing. Come on, come on, come on.
Okay, we're talking about Alderman Berny Stone. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. And
Retirement's wonderful.
And I'm glad to hear that. I have to tell you, too, that I still remember in the early days when people would see me, they would go, "Oh, you're on the Berny Stone show."
Oh, really?
So we had you on that often.
Well, that's good.
And by the way, that was great. I mean, we were able to give the community a lot of good information in good time and let people know what was coming and what they could do and what their options were and all the rest of it.
Well, now I come on the show to get the information from you.
Well, yeah, by the way, the alderman of the 50th Ward, of course, does not talk to me, but I wonder why. Sue me again, lady. Anyway, or try. So let's talk about, we've talked some about you over the course of time, you've been working on an autobiography.
I'm still working on it. What's happened is the young lady who's the columnist at the Northtown News, at the Lincoln Park skyline, unfortunately, who I worked with for over a year and a half, has withdrawn from the project because of various problems, and as a result I've got to start over. And apparently I've gotten someone who's interested in doing it, and I'm hoping that they will act as my co-author. And if I don't strike with this person, I'll be looking again for a new co-author. Originally, John Cass was supposed to help me, but then John's got busy with his radio show, and of course he does his column in the Tribune. But that's the way it happens.
You know, I actually I submitted the Mutza of the month for John Cass for October.
Really?
Yeah, and he took it. He actually
Who
gave.
was a Mutza?
It was Chris Matthews.
Okay.
And
I saw it, yeah.
yeah, what Chris Matthews said, he just said IBM, but there aren't too many other IBMs. But basically, he talked
I
about
noticed
how.
that. I should have put it together, but I didn't, unfortunately.
Yeah, basically, for those of you who didn't see it, my suggestion was Chris Matthews, because when they talked about Syria and the gas, and he was talking about how horrific it is, he said that not even Hitler used chemical weapons. So I wrote into John Cass, well, what does Chris Matthews consider the gas chambers? Green energy? So he chose that for the Mutz of the month.
Well, of course, Chris Matthews has been defending the
Obama administration.
Obama administration on
his show on
the workings of the
the health care, the Obamacare.
Obamacare, yeah. So I don't understand how you can defend that. Even most of the Democratic senators who are up for re-election aren't defending him on that.
No, and I don't know how anybody possibly could. I mean, if this was an actual company, they'd be out of business already.
Well, my fear is that they won't be out of business, and that a lot of people who are depending on this are going to be sadly disappointed. You know, I happen to believe in health care for people who otherwise can't get it, and I believe in the basic idea of the health care reform, but this has been so mishandled that I'm just scared to death of what's going to happen, and this will kill it, and those 40 million people who should be getting health care are going to be deprived of health care, because obviously what's happening so far, and apparently it's being hushed up, is that all those younger people who without whom registering in the pool it'll never work,
right,
are not going to sign up.
No, I mean, they're looking at it, for those people who are insured. I've already seen plenty of stories whereby people's rates will double, their deductibles go up, and they're also being forced to have certain amenities in insurance that they don't need at all.
Well, the young people, without them in the pool, it's just not going to work. And if they pay the penalty will be cheaper than what they have to pay for the insurance. And the use of the insurance for most of them who will never have to experience major sicknesses, it's just not necessary for them to buy the insurance. And there's no way that they are going to need the insurance. The president promised that they could keep whatever insurance they had now. Not true. He promised that they could have the doctors which they choose. Not true. And so why should they sign up under the program?
I agree. I mean, the fact of the matter is, even in my age group, I mean, for instance, okay, why do I need things like, you know, maternity and other things like that would be included? So there are things along those lines that for each age group don't even begin to apply, and they don't take things into account. And why, you know, somebody mentioned the other day, he really wonders if more people have lost their insurance already than have actually signed up for the Obamacare. Because people with policies they're completely happy with are being told, we have to cancel your policy because it doesn't meet the minimum standards of Obamacare. So if a person has a policy they're happy with, and a policy that worked for them, and now they're being told, you can't do this anymore, you have to do what we tell you to do.
And look what it's doing to the employment field. How many young people can get a job working for more than 29 hours a week?
They can't. As a matter of fact, there are so many companies, whether it's the local Jewel, which I know it's true, or the enterprise rent-a-car that when I use when I need a car, they don't let anybody work there more than 25 hours a week because they'll have to work a little extra. They're not going to hit the 30 where they have to be given insurance.
Absolutely. It's what it's encouraged is part-time employment.
Mort Zuckerman of U.S. News and World Report has repeatedly pointed out that when you see the employment figures, big deal, people are employed to part-time jobs, not to the increases part-time jobs.
I know it with my own grandchildren. They cannot get anything but a part-time job. And that's their employment future. And a college graduate come out of college with the skills, with the education, and what faces them? Part-time employment. You know, this is not what they expected when they entered into college, and this is what they're faced with. It's not what America promised people. Certainly of my age, when we were growing up, it's not what they promised people at your age when they were growing up, and it's certainly not a promise for people who are entering into college today. It's not the America I knew.
No, not at all. And the fact of the matter is, it's going to do nothing but increase the lower class, lower financial classes. You know, it's going to increase poverty. It's going to lessen home ownership.
Well, the main thing is it's going to destroy what we always call the middle class, and it's the same group of people that the president's always talking to. He's always talking about middle class America. Well, middle class America is disappearing, and middle class America is the people that we all have striven to be. Most of us will never be in the upper classes, and hopefully none of us will have to suffer in the lower classes. But we all striven to reach the middle class, and hopefully the upper middle class. But the middle class is disappearing, and one of the reasons it's disappearing is, first of all, the economic situation, which started in early 2008, and has been made worse by some of the things that have happened since that time. One of which is Obamacare, unfortunately.
There's no question about it. And when you see, if you see the economy increasing 1.6%, that's nothing. I mean, it needs to be at least 2% to stay even afloat-wise. And given that 200,000 people enter the workforce every month, if you see 180,000 jobs, that means there are 20,000 less than the new people in the force, which means the country's actually going downhill along those lines.
Well, the total jobs, of course, includes most of those part-time jobs, and that's the rub.
No question, because yes, so many of those people are part-time. Not to mention the fact that even if the unemployment figures look a little lower, it doesn't take into account anybody who's been out of work for 6 months. And there are a lot of people that have given up trying to look for full-time work or work at all. And the actual unemployment figures, according to Mort Zuckerman, who is my guru along these lines, is actually closer to 12% right now.
And what really bothers me more than anything else is the people who I used to call my brethren, my fellow politicians, whether it be on a federal or a state or a local plane, basically are spinning their wheels. They're not doing a damn thing about it. I don't care whether it's on a federal, whether it's on a state, or whether it's on a local plane. They're doing a lot of talking about it, but they're not doing anything about it. And it's to borrow a phrase from the Mama Lotion,
Okay.
they're just I can't use that phrase, unfortunately.
Okay, well, Gornished is not a bad. Gornished means nothing.
Nothing,
So
yeah.
we'll go along those lines.
All right.
You know, it's. I was watching, you know, one of the Channel 11 news shows, and then somebody was on. They were talking about the state problems with the pension and all that, and they quoted Rich Miller, who runs Capital Facts, who does watch our show and is one of our subscribers. Hey, Rich, how's it going? Who basically said they were asking what's going to happen in Springfield, and Rich Miller said, when it comes to Springfield, bet on nothing.
Well, when you get one of the leaders, the Senate president, saying there's no crisis, what did you expect to happen?
You know, I don't think he realizes that marijuana is still illegal.
I don't understand this. When I see the governor who properly says we're losing something like $90 million or $70 million a day, and then the Senate president says, well, this is not a crisis. I don't understand that. And then when, you know, he's protecting the unions, and I can understand that. The unions are major contributors to the Democratic Party. And, but in the meantime, let's face it, I'm also a pensioner, and all I know is that the pensioners are being thrown under the bus, and no matter which way they solve this problem, the pensioners are going to be thrown under the bus. The Constitution says, "You shall not diminish nor change that which was promised to the pensioners," and yet every solution that they're coming up with will diminish and change the amount for the pensioners.
Now, you mentioned something interesting just now, because that's actually in the state constitution.
Yes.
That they can't diminish the amount. Are they technically able to pass a new constitutional amendment and then lessen things?
They're going to do it. They're going to do it. Look, there's no question about it. It's the basis on which the president of the Senate said that they couldn't use the Madigan Amendment. But, you know, who got us in this problem in the first place? It was the legislature taking the state's contribution to the pension funds and using it for other purposes.
Correct.
It wasn't the people who were paying into the pension fund. They continued to pay into the pension fund. It was the legislature who did it. But you're not going to see the legislature, which is the people of the state, you're not going to see them dare to raise the taxes, because they won't get reelected if they raise the taxes. What did they do when I was still an alderman, and I had a press conference. I said, make people of the state of Illinois, call your legislator. Don't let them pass a bill. This is in 2010. Don't let them pass a bill, which they passed in 2011, that will, in fact, cause the real estate tax to be almost doubled in 2015. They passed it anyway. Nobody even paid any attention to me. And the legislature passed that bill, and the newspapers didn't say a word about it. Now, all of a sudden, they're starting to talk about it. In 2015, the real estate taxes will be doubled. Now, the bill itself that they passed didn't say that. The bill that they passed merely said the city will have to come up with about $700 million. Now, there's no way the city can come up with $700 million unless they raise the real estate tax. Now, everybody knew this, including the legislature.
Yeah.
But the newspapers knew it. They didn't say it. They let the people don't understand that the newspapers are part of the system. The system that the politicians use is called public relations. They hand out press release, and newspaper reporters take the press releases and they publish it under their byline, and that's what you read in the newspapers. You read handouts from politicians. You know, I brought one with me.
Okay.
I brought one with me. It concerns our ward. This is a press release from the Chicago Park District.
Okay, and I'll point out too, by the way, while you're
it concerns Indian Boundary Park.
Ah, that is where we had a zoo, and it would be nice if we still had a zoo.
And that's what the press release is about.
And by the way, what the alderman said about the newspapers being involved, I still remember when the other newspapers revealed that the Sun-Times was getting a $400,000 a year tax break on their real estate taxes from Parkey Cullerton. And it's not unusual for the newspapers to be directly in bed with the politicians and benefit thereof. And, you know, you take a look, the Tribune can rail against Madigan all day and all night, but the bottom line, they always endorse the guy for elections, so they can say everything they want, but when push comes to shove, you know, they always support him.
Indian Boundary Zoo to take on new life. That's the headline.
Okay.
The Indian Boundary Zoo, 2500 West Lunt, was a neighborhood zoo that once housed llamas, goats, sheep, and even a small brown bear. They didn't talk about that mountain lion that used to be there that we used to hear all over.
I didn't know that.
Oh, we used to hear it all over the neighborhood. However, due to the small enclosures for animals and stricter animal care laws enforced by the Department of Agriculture, the larger animals were removed over time and moved to Lincoln Park Zoo. Well, because the Lincoln Park Zoo didn't maintain the damn zoo and let it go to hell. That is not in the press release. In recent years, the Indian Boundary Zoo housed chickens, a duck, and a goat. The Park District paid the Lincoln Park Zoo $90,000 annually to provide care for the animals in the Boundary Zoo, which they wasted by sending a guy up here once a month to look around and went back to Lincoln Park Zoo because they hate to come all the way up here to the north side. That's not in here either. The Park District developed a plan to reuse the small structure in the zoo for community activities and to install gardens and programming space for the community. That's not in here, is the community had nothing to say about it. The Park District's design seeks to activate the space for recreational and cultural programming and will include the installation of annual statues and plantings that will attract urban wildlife like butterflies, owls, birds, and other creatures. Now that is a press release right from the Lincoln Park Zoo.
Right.
Now, the public had absolutely nothing to say about it. This is pure press release, and that's unfortunately why it disappeared.
Yeah, there were sham public meetings and they didn't take any advice from the people.
Not only sham meetings, first of all, it was their negligence to let the zoo go to hell, and if they hadn't been so damn negligent, the place was rat infested. It was overgrown. It was terrible. It was now I'll use the Mama Lushan, it was a shanda.
Okay.
But in the meantime, this is what you get as where the we're the subject of pure press release. This, by the way, is from the Friends of the Park.
Oh.
And
they're putting out that nonsense?
They're supposed to be our protector, and all they did is reprint reprint a press release from the Lincoln Park Zoo.
It's ridiculous.
They're supposed to be protecting us from these people who destroyed the Indian Boundary Park Zoo.
Well, you know, 20 years ago when they wanted to take the park away, we actually had an alderman with the backbone who actually stood up, and we had public meetings that were real meetings that we actually filmed, and I wish I probably have those
because
tapes
the
somewhere.
people came to the alderman and said, we got to save our zoo. And the alderman went to the mayor and said, we got to save that zoo because the people want it. And the mayor then called the head of the park district, and the head of the park district told the Lincoln Park Zoo, you're not going to destroy the zoo. And that's how the zoo was saved in 1993.
Yeah, unfortunately, right now we have an alderman who doesn't seem to have a certain, I think it's called an invertebrate
Well,
when it comes to the mayor. I know,
I'm not gonna
that's
comment
me, that's
on
not
that.
you.
It's not.
But it is
I'm
the
not going to
case.
comment on that. And I look.
You divorce
You
yourself
don't
from
have
that,
the
I know.
You don't have the same mayor either. But
No, for sure,
And I'm
no.
not. And I'm not. But I've got to. I don't love the former mayor, not one bit. But in the meantime, he did stand up for me at that
he did.
particular instance.
There's no question. I mean, listen, I wasn't crazy about the guy either at the end, but the fact of the matter is I'd take him in a second over the present guy.
Well, I'm not going to comment on that either.
Right, I know.
The fact is that this has become an administration of press release, and the public is just as much to blame because they sit back and they're so busy watching television that they don't react. This is the same community that when they wanted a playground, went out and raised the funds, and I assisted them, raised the funds, and got their hammers and nails and built the playground for kids. I mean, they were proactive. Nobody's proactive today. I mean, it makes me sick to my stomach when I see people just laying back and doing nothing. The people are no longer proactive like they were at one time. On Sunday afternoon, they're watching a Bear game. They haven't got time for meetings. They haven't got time to work for themselves. You know, people at one time really cared about their surroundings. I get the feeling, you know, maybe I'm just getting too damn old. I get the feeling that people don't give a damn anymore. They're too busy worrying about themselves, and they don't worry about their community any longer.
You happen to be right about that. There's no question about it. And by the way, let's not forget that everybody with their Facebook and all the rest of it, and it's silly. I mean, you know, if you want to know what somebody's doing, I use Facebook for political friends, and when I take a look there, it's like there's so many people that are going, oh, I just had bacon and eggs for breakfast, and I had this for lunch, and you know, and instead of maybe doing something constructive at that same time. But in the meantime, we are about out of time. So first, before I forget, and I don't want to forget, I want to thank Majid Mustafa, one of my favorite people who happens to be the manager at JK Kebab, for bringing you over here today.
And one of the greatest employees I ever had, and he cared about people. He cares about his community.
He still does.
And yeah, he helped the police in catching and gathering the film of a thief who was robbing JK Kebab.
Yeah, and you know what? He'd make a great cop himself. The
He
Chicago
sure
Police
would.
Department ought to sit up and take notice.
He sure would.
In the meantime, this has been the person who's been on the show. I can't even count how many times he's been on the show. But anyway, I want to thank you very much, Alderman Berny Stone. I want to wish you lots of luck.
Thank you,
And I look
Avi.
forward to the next time you're going to be on. Thank you very much, Sonny Hirsch. Thank you for watching, everybody. Take care. Be well. Bye-bye.